Greetings all. I'm taking a break from music videos this week. Although if you're a patron of mine, you will notice I still posted something for you. Today I'm going to focus on something that hopefully won't offend anybody, but it could be contentious. I'm going to touch on the topic of criticisms and comments received by worship leaders. Leading worship is a unique job. The modern church, I think, is still adjusting to modern things. So unfortunately, many churches simply don't know what to do with worship leaders. That can make it difficult to persevere as a worship leader. And unfortunately, some leaders in different churches will even go so far as to label what you do a necessary evil. However, it's a rewarding job, but it comes with some things that nobody tells you about. I've been a worship leader for a long time. I'm a preacher's kid too, so sometimes I think I've seen it all, and I'm usually wrong about that. If you've been involved at all at any level of church service or planning or work, anything like that, you've heard people say some really weird things. Things that even in passing might stop you dead in your tracks in absolute confusion. Because sometimes you end up staring at people and thinking, why would you even say that out loud? For instance, years ago, I was running through rehearsal with my team before church, when the pastor walks up and says, "Ian, be thou my vision needs to be faster." So jokingly, I, played it really fast. I was like, "How's that?" And kind of looked at me straight face and said, "Yeah, that'll work," and then walked away. I was left dumbfounded and speechless. Look, there's no way I could cover all the weird and odd criticisms and comments that I've gotten over the years, especially not in one YouTube video. It'd be like an hour-long video. But here are 5 of the oddest comments I've heard over the years. I'll give you some ideas on how to deal with your own interesting criticisms and comments after I present these. So here we go. Number 5. Quote, "You're just performing." This was said in reference to some services in which the music was just really on fire. The drummer was killing it. I was able to knock out some modest guitar riffs. There were some of those services in which just the band was on fire and everyone was in sync and the spirit was moving. And then someone said this. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry at that moment. Unfortunately, you'll hear this kind of thing a lot when you place artistic integrity as a high priority. I don't know what it is, but some people just automatically assume that when you're playing really well, you're just showing off. You know you're not showing off. Any musician knows you're not showing off. But there will be those who look at it with arms crossed and think, why would they do anything but sing the words and play the chords? I'm not even worshiping right now. Don't tell anyone, but they're probably just jealous. Or they're terrified of you flying off in a Freebird or whatever. Number 4, you read too many Psalms. Direct quote. So I love the Psalms, and I've always thought they're a great guide for worship excellence. I often joke that the Psalms are a great way to complain to God too. But truthfully, they're a great resource for everyone in dealing with life and emotions, but especially for the worship leader. They always point back to God and His mercies. Because of this, I like to read a psalm or a portion of one to introduce worship. And I'm not kidding you when I tell you that there were people who did not like that for whatever reason. It was one of the strangest things I've ever heard anyone say. I still to this day don't know why this person didn't like me reading the Psalms. Don't get it. When they said this, I kept having the same phrase repeat itself over and over in my head. You don't like the Psalms in worship? It didn't make sense then, and it doesn't make sense now. It's like a judge saying, "Hey, stop reading the law in my courtroom." All I did was quote the Constitution. Come on, man. Just goes to show that we as humans don't always stick to the most rational opinions. Number 3, quote, "You talk too much." I imagine every worship leader has heard this at one point or another. Because really, who wants to hear the worship leader talk, right? Right? This was often said to me in close connection with the comment about the Psalms. The Psalms don't make much sense to those not well versed in the Bible, so I often sought to explain them briefly when I read them. This was not well received by some. They believed it cut too much in the sermon time. Oddly enough, these were the same people who complained a lot about how long the sermons were. I spoke to one person that actually timed me. I apparently went as long as 3 minutes once. Yep, just what I thought, 3 whole minutes. Wait, what did he say? I know. Sometimes I just won't shut up. Number 2, you don't talk enough. I know what you're thinking. Didn't Ian just say that people thought he talked too much? Yes, I did. However, there were others that literally said I didn't say enough spiritual things in between songs. Now, I've always prided myself on not talking much during a worship set. I'm pretty ADHD and I get distracted if I go on too long. So yeah, I get distracted easy, and I know other people will too. But there have been a few people who apparently really needed me to say something pithy in between songs because reasons? I guess it's hard to worship unless someone tells you how to and why. He didn't say anything between songs. How am I gonna worship now? Number 1, you don't play acoustic guitar enough. Not kidding. Are you sitting down? I hope you are. You might need to if you know anything about music to process this. I was literally told one time that I'm not a good worship leader because I don't play acoustic all the time. Yeah. That was probably the look on my face too. Oddly enough, this was from people who also complained that I didn't do enough hymns. I guess electrical signals going through the speaker system aren't as holy if they're not coming from an acoustic guitar. That Hesitations 3:7, man, it gets me every time. First Hesitations 3:7. And the Lord said, "Thou shalt only play acoustic guitar if thou art leading worship." Or piano. Depends on the cultural situation, really. I was so shocked by this one, I did not know how to respond. You really don't get it if you think a style of guitar is what makes a worship leader good or bad. It's one of those moments in which I just really wanted to say, do you know how music works? But you can't say something like that because it's just not good. It's kind of like if a carpenter is only a good carpenter if he only uses DeWalt tools. What do you mean I'm fired because I only use Ryobi? Or a videographer is only good if she only uses Sony cameras. I mean, we all do this to some extent. We've all developed our own traditional ruts. Not that contemporary is the new traditional and we don't know how to get out of this rut. No, that's not it at all. Anyway, moving on. So let's talk about how we respond to comments like these. Whether we're worship leaders and musicians or any other creative field in which you receive some really silly criticisms. Our tendency as human beings is to either lash out or hold a grudge, neither of which is very healthy. I recommend one of 2 responses, depending on the situation. One is to ask the person, why is that? A lot of people really haven't thought out their opinions. We all often see something we don't like and we'll end up assuming that our opinion is established fact. When faced like a question like this though, many realize they don't have a good reason for their opinion. And unless they're really stubborn, they will politely back down. The second response is to explain as briefly as possible what you're trying to do. Most of people just simply don't see what's going on in the background. All they see is you on stage on Sunday morning. And unfortunately, most people assume that's all you do. When someone makes something look easy, what's the first thing we all think to ourselves? I could do that. For some, they just need a simple explanation of what you do and why. And that might be enough for many people. It gives them a glimpse into the hard work and brain power you put into every service. For instance, my response to the acoustic thing was simple. I don't feel like I'm really pushing myself to do my best when I stick to just acoustic. I think I'm pursuing excellence so much better when I can get more creative with my playing style. Remember that the Bible tells us a soft answer turns away wrath. The people who criticize the most are often the most insecure in themselves. They may just be taking out their frustrations on you at the moment. So when we as leaders especially, but all of us really, respond firmly but gently, always speaking the truth in love, we can help the other person calm down and hopefully look inward to what's really bothering them. So thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful in some way. Leave a comment. Let me know about some of the crazy criticisms and comments you've gotten in your respective fields. Maybe they can be the topic of another video. Who knows? Be sure to subscribe, go to my Patreon site, and check me out on Spotify and Bandcamp. I've got a new EP coming out. I think you'll enjoy it. Thank you, and I'll catch you later. You really don't get it if you think a style of guitar is what makes a worship leader good or bad. What just happened? There we go. You really don't get it if you think a style of guitar is what makes a worship leader good or... You really don't get it if a style of guitar... Come on, Maffet. I mean, we all do this. We all do this to some extent. We've all... Oh, come on, Maffet.